Okay, so imagine this. You arrive somewhere, and just like that, everything you know, your clothes, your identity, it's stripped away.
Yeah, and you're plunged into this completely alien world. New rules, new language, relentless pressure.
A place designed to, well, basically break you down and then build you back up as a leader. That's the U.S. Naval Academy we're talking about.
Exactly. And today we're gonna really dive into some fascinating sources about 5 key figures who went through that crucible.
Right. We've got John Poindexter, John McCain, Bud McFarlane, Jim Webb, and Oliver North. Quite a list.
An incredible list, and we're tracing their journeys from Annapolis through the harrowing experiences of Vietnam.
And then right into the corridors of power in D.C. The Reagan White House, Iran-Contra. It's all connected.
It really is. Our sort of mission here is to understand how those early experiences, Annapolis, Vietnam, how they shaped their leadership, their beliefs.
And why they ended up on such different paths, even though they started in the same place.
It's fascinating how intertwined their lives became, and the questions their stories raise about duty, honor, accountability. They still feel really relevant today.
Definitely. So let's start right there. At Annapolis, that shared, almost brutal induction.
Yeah, you arrive and suddenly floors are decks, walls are bulkheads, bathrooms are heads. You're learning a whole new language.
Things like calling a short guy a sand blower or a less than attractive date a brick. It must have been head spinning.
Total cultural shock, designed to strip away that individual identity and forge a collective one.
And they had that little handbook, right? Reef points.
Oh yeah, roof points, like almost 300 pages stuffed in their pockets. Naval lore, rules, traditions they had to memorize.
Plus that pamphlet, A Message to Garcia. What was the message there?
Basically, get the job done, no complaining, no excuses, you just do it and report back. That was the mentality they hammered home.
You know, the system sounds kind of arbitrary, maybe even abusive at times.
It definitely could be. Vulnerable to abuse, for sure.
But a lot of the guys who went through it saw it as crucial, right, for building character.
Yeah, many felt it pushed them to play over their heads, as the sources put it, preparing them for command.
Okay, so let's talk about the individuals. John Poindexter, class of 58, he seemed different from the start.
Very different. The sources say he was just comfortable, immediately comfortable with the whole rigid system, settled right in.
Became a big-timer pretty fast, even during hazing.
Exactly. Classmates were apparently like, wow, this guy must be something special.
His own mother said he was grown an old man. That paints a picture.
Doesn't it? Brilliant, methodical, incredibly self-assured. A friend said Poindexter was so sure of himself intellectually.
The people just did what he said.
Pretty much. Let's do it this way, and boom, you just automatically did it. No need for flash. His intellect was his authority.
And he finished #1 in his class, aiming high, right? Chief of Naval Operations.
That was the goal. Always pursuing those credentials, that intellectual edge. It really set him up to trust data, systems, maybe over people.
And that PhD from Caltech in nuclear physics, that wasn't exactly standard Navy track.
Not at all. He got some pushback. Someone told him, you'll never make it.
But he did. Impressed Nobel laureates like Feynman.
He did. But for him, it seems like the doctorate was mainly another credential, another way to stand apart.
Okay, so Poindexter is the methodical achiever. On the flip side, you've got John McCain.
Oh, yeah, total contrast. McCain arrived, and it seems like rules were just suggestions, or maybe challenges.
Piling up demerits left and right, unshined shoes, late for formation.
All of it. The sources say he basically ignored like 75% of the curriculum, finished near the bottom of his class, 894th.
But somehow he was incredibly popular. Leader of the bad bunch.
People just gravitated to him. He had this charisma, this rebellious charm, leader of the partygoers.
And his time on Liberty. Sounds like it got pretty wild.
Yeah. That story about the shore patrol raiding a bar.
Midshipmen scrambling into the woods, hiding in boats.
McCain and his buddies sprinting down the road, getting picked up by some recent grad who just found it hilarious. Classic McCain, apparently.
And he wasn't afraid of confrontation either. Defending that steward.
Right. Demanding the upperclassman's name, what's yours? That willingness to push back, consequences be damned, that was pure McCain.
Okay, next up, Bud McFarlane. He carried a heavy weight, didn't he?
A really heavy weight. His father constantly told him, you are a chosen person. You have a responsibility to lead.
Wow. That instills a sense of duty, but maybe also pressure.
Exactly. A deep sense of public service, but also made him kind of vulnerable.
Yeah.
Quick to accept blame, hesitant to challenge authority directly.
Still, he wasn't always serious, dumping that upperclassman in the river.
Yeah, the totalitarian son of a bitch, as the source called him, so he had that side too. And he was apparently very generous.
The uniform story. His roommate, Bob Drost, saw him hauling back clean uniforms for friends.
Right. Drost just felt McFarlane was better, like a fundamentally decent person.
Disciplined, too, visualizing gymnastics routines at his desk.
Yeah, he excelled at the side horse. But people noticed, smiling came difficult to him. He even got marked down in leadership for lacking a fun side. Very earnest.
Now, Oliver North, his past wasn't straightforward at all.
Not initially. Described as a nice kid going nowhere back home.
But then the Marine Corps platoon leaders course clicked for him.
Totally. He apparently loved the drill instructors, the whole demanding environment, found his direction there.
But his journey to Annapolis itself hit a huge snag, that car accident.
A really severe one. Broken nose, jaw, leg, head, back, knee injuries. Just awful.
And from his gurney, he's saying, "I'll beat this."
Incredible defiance. And later, hiding the limp and the pain from his girlfriend, insisting on walking the yard.
He had to repeat his freshman year after recuperating.
He did. That sheer determination, pushing through pain, that became a huge part of his story later on.
And finally, Jim Webb. Tough background, boxing.
Yeah, his dad's lesson, fighting is just you and the other guy and all that smoke. That stayed with him.
He felt like an umbilical cord snapped at swearing in,
Yeah.
thinking he might die for the academy.
A really intense reaction. He later talked about two fucking worlds there.
Right.
The brutal reality inside Vancroft Hall versus the polished exterior.
And that cricket bat paddling story, that's rough.
It really is. Getting beaten, yelling, "Beat Army, sir," and "Harder, sir,"
Total defiance.
until the paddle breaks. And then the aftermath, running into a closet, crying.
But he drew strength from it.
That's what he said later. Drew great strength from the experience. It raises questions, how people internalize that kind of brutality.
And it seemed to fuel his willingness to challenge things later, didn't it?
Absolutely. Whether it was an upperclassman or, down the line, a presidential administration, if he thought something was wrong, morally or tactically, he'd push back.
Which brings us to that famous showdown between Webb and North.
The 1967 Brigade Boxing Championship, 145 pounds.
Huge tension beforehand. Rumors about North having a steel plate in his head.
Yeah, totally untrue, but the rumors were flying. Their coach even tried to get the bout even, whatever that meant.
North won, unanimous decision.
Yeah.
And Webb was furious.
Oh, yeah. Lambasted his coach the next day. A plebe watching them, Fred Peck, sensed this rivalry was bigger.
Destined to endure beyond Annapolis.
Almost like they were singled out for lifelong competition.
Yeah.
It really did foreshadow their clashes later, especially around Iran-Contra.
So these Annapolis experiences, brutal, formative, they really set the stage.
Absolutely. Then came Vietnam, an even tougher proving ground.
And by the time Reagan's running in 1980, the narrative around Vietnam is shifting, right? He's calling it a noble cause.
Right. Trying to move away from the baby killer image, frames servicemen as worthy of respect. His big line was, "No more Vietnams."
Which was a huge contrast to how many people felt earlier, the generation-wide catastrophe view.
Yeah, and that Harris poll in '71 showing many Americans saw those who served as suckers.
Because so many others played the deferment game. College, marriage.
Babying out, as they called it. Like George Hamilton getting out because his mother needed his salary. A very different reality for some.
Okay, so McCain in Vietnam. Starts in flight school. Bit reckless.
Initially, yeah. But the sources say he matured on deployment, actually enjoyed being at sea, qualified as officer of the deck.
And then the forceful fire?
Yeah.
Just horrific.
Devastating. That Zuni missile hitting a fuel tank, bombs cooking off, 134 dead. McCain himself had to escape through burning fuel.
He saw the aftermath in sickbay, the burns.
Yeah, horribly burned, guys. Saw one young man die after McCain told him his chief was okay. Just unimaginable scenes.
And then just a few months later, he's shot down over Hanoi.
Captured, tortured brutally. But he famously stuck to the code of conduct.
Refused early release even though his father was an admiral. The whole Crown Prince thing.
Right. Code said prisoners go home in order of capture, and he stuck to it.
He was forced to make that confession, though. Black criminal. Air pirate.
He was. But he tried to undermine it, with deliberate misspellings, weird grammar, throwing in communist jargon, sabotage, basically.
While he was recovering, other POWs helped him. Norris Overley, George Day.
They nursed him. Day marveled at his sheer will to live and that determination.
And after his release, he went to the War College, determined to understand what went wrong.
He did. And he came away with a really harsh judgment of military leaders, including his own father, who he felt didn't stand up and push back against flawed policy.
That experience seems like it forged his whole stance on integrity and accountability.
Absolutely. It defined him.
What about Bud McFarlane in Vietnam?
Artillery officer, right?
Yeah, coordinating fire missions, saw action during the Tet Offensive.
And he saw a big disconnect between D.C. plans and the reality on the ground.
A huge disconnect. He saw bunkers made of ammo boxes caving in, troops taking huge risks, kids rolling snake eyes out in Indian country, as he put it.
Well, McNamara back in D.C. is talking about an electronic fence. Right. This high-tech pipe dream that just didn't match the messy reality McFarlane was seeing.
And he was pretty angry about how the media portrayed Tet.
Very angry. Felt television turned a U.S. South Vietnamese military victory into a PR disaster, a stunning victory for the enemy, which killed public support.
But he also acknowledged the military fed the press bad info sometimes.
He did. So it was a complex disillusionment with policy, with the media. It definitely shaped his skepticism later in Washington.
Oliver North, though, he seemed to thrive in combat.
He really did. Sources describe him as this charismatic, totally fearless platoon leader, needlepoint vision, calm under fire.
Like a commander from an old movie.
That's the description. Just completely oblivious to danger. Seems like he found his element there.
He got blown up twice in one firefight. Saved by his machine gunner.
Yeah, Randy Harrod saved his life. Shows you the intensity.
But there's also that picture of him passed out on the beach during R&R.
Yeah, at Kobayat. Randy Harrod's parents apparently saw the photo and jokingly asked if the Marines were reporting dead Americans now.
Wow. A glimpse of the exhaustion behind the heroic image.
Exactly, the toll it took, even on someone like North.
And Jim Webb, leading a rifle platoon as a second lieutenant. He laid down the law pretty clearly.
Oh, yeah. Told his men straight up, if I ever find out you lied to me, you're dead meat. Set a hard line from the start.
His first patrol under fire. He was cool under pressure.
Impressively so. His company commander, Wiley, said he was cool as a cucumber, like he's been doing it all his life.
But leadership came at a heavy cost for him.
A terrible cost. His men started dying. Guys like Tom Martin, paralyzed. McGarvey lost an arm. Webb felt that deeply.
He earned the Navy Cross himself, right? Shielding someone from a grenade.
He did. Ended up with a limp, actually quite similar to North's, ironically.
And that incident where he defied a direct order, moved his platoon somewhere else.
Yeah, he thought the ordered position was nonsensical, dangerous, so he moved them to a better spot, ended up killing 8 NVA there.
That took guts. Prioritizing his men over just following orders blindly.
Absolutely. It showed that sense of responsibility he felt, that willingness to trust his own judgment on the ground, very much the grunt's perspective.
Which became central to his identity later.
Totally. And his return home wasn't easy either.
On that ship with draftees, getting that marine green chicken shit.
Yeah, just disrespect, despite their service. It reflected that difficult, often negative reception many veterans got back then.
So Vietnam leaves these incredible scars, but also shapes their views on leadership, authority, media.
Profoundly. And those views come with them to Washington.
Where the post-Vietnam landscape is dominated by the Pentagon whiz kids, right? McNamara's guys.
Initially, yeah.
Oh.
Men of mathematical precision. But their reputations took a big hit because Vietnam just didn't fit their neat statistical models. War wasn't just numbers.
And the military itself is grappling with Vietnam syndrome.
Right. This deep reluctance to commit troops again without clear objectives and strong public support. A real wariness.
Which caused friction in the Reagan administration. Poindexter clashed with Weinberger and Vesey over it.
Big time. Poindexter apparently mocked them privately, calling them the Vietnam Never Again Society. He wanted more decisive action.
Okay, let's track McFarlane's path post-Vietnam. It wasn't smooth sailing at first.
No, he got kind of sidelined.
Yeah.
Bumped off the fast track to the education branch at Marine HQ. Not exactly glamorous.
But then he got involved in that huge strategic move with China.
A critical role, passing a highly sensitive intel about the Soviets to the Chinese. On Kissinger's orders, it helped build that new relationship and gave the U.S. vital intelligence posts.
But then as national security advisor under Reagan. That sounds challenging. Reagan style.
Very challenging. McFarlane struggled with Reagan's ambiguity, his tendency to just say, well, it sounds okay to me about complex proposals.
Leaving McFarlane to figure out what that actually meant.
Pretty much. A lot of interpretation needed. And then the Beirut bombing happened in '83. That hit McFarlane hard.
He lost his composure at the memorial service.
Yeah, he broke down and cried. The sources really emphasized the emotional toll that took, and it fueled his frustration with Weinberger and Vesey.
Because he felt their caution, their Vietnam syndrome, prevented a proper retaliation.
That was his view. He saw their reluctance as hindering necessary action, a real clash of perspectives born from their different experiences.
And amidst all this pressure, he had an ice cream addiction.
Huh. Apparently so. Joked that his kids would wave vanilla ice cream under his nose on his deathbed just to be sure.
A little human touch there.
Yeah. But significantly, McFarlane also underwent this kind of political conversion.
Came to respect Congress, even though it's messy.
Yeah, a grudging respect. He accepted that Congress may be all fucked up, but that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. Realized that was just part of the democratic process. A big shift for a military guy.
Which makes his later actions during Iran-Contra even more poignant, tragic.
Definitely. He himself admitted later that by the time the scandal broke, something had long since snapped.
That explains the hedging, the evasions, the outright lies in his testimony.
It seems to. The immense pressure, the internal conflict, it all came crashing down. A really stark example of the personal cost involved.
Now, Poindexter, the believer in the system, his ascent continued. High-tech crisis center, computerizing the NSE.
Oh, yeah. He was Mr. Tech. Brought in the PROFS system, basically early email, which, as you mentioned, became crucial later.
Revealing all those supposedly deleted notes during Iran-Contra. The irony.
Huge irony. He was also pushing hard for military action, like against Libya. Wanted a disproportionate response.
And he just had this unwavering faith that the system worked. Took Reagan at his word.
Almost a childlike belief, one source called it, which led him to feel frustrated when others, like Schultz and Weinberger, seemed to be covering their tracks on Iran-Contra.
Well, he felt he'd given them space, allowed them to give the Iran initiative a wide berth.
Exactly. His faith was in the hierarchy, in his own intellect, maybe not so much in navigating the political minefields.
He denied that, remember, Yamamoto exchange with North ever happened.
Flatly denied it. And the sources suggest Newsweek got it wrong, attributing Admiral Stark's ideas to North.
And that mustache he grew. Not for the trial.
No, just covering a surgical scar from removing a benign tumor. Another case of the press getting the small details wrong.
He was eventually pardoned by Bush Sr.,
yeah,
right? And then lived quietly.
Pardoned, yes. And then ran a software company. A much quieter post-White House life compared to some of the others.
Okay, Oliver North after Vietnam. Dynamic instructor at Quantico.
Very dynamic. Famous for his stunts, the pooping and snooping, the K-bar knife in the teeth.
More than just entertainment, though.
Right. They were jumping off points for his lectures. Made him memorable, captivating.
But there was controversy around him in the White House. Accusations of ego, ambition.
Yeah, talk of erratic behavior, exaggerated importance, fierce personal ambition. Again, that gap between the public image and internal perceptions.
And the story of how he got the White House job is conflicting. He said he didn't want it.
His autobiography claims that, yeah. But his friend Chuck Krulak basically said if he didn't want to go, he wouldn't have gone. So, who knows?
In Iran-Contra itself, he was more the operative, the fieldman.
That seems to be the consensus. Not the main architect, but the guy managing the day-to-day, the skin of the teeth holding action for the Contras, especially against congressional bans.
And his testimony was pure political theater, wasn't it?
Absolutely legendary. He basically put Congress on trial, wearing McFarlane's old oak leaves, his Vietnam medals, like body armor.
An unforgettable performance. Very North.
Very North. Mission-driven, almost theatrical.
Jim Webb's transition was rougher. Law school at Georgetown. Clashes with anti-war students.
Yeah, a tough fit.
Yeah.
And that awful criminal law exam question that basically threw his combat experience back in his face.
About shipping jade and dead bodies. That's brutal.
Incredibly cruel. Shows the lingering shadows of the war.
But then he makes that pilgrimage to the Pacific battlefields. That sounds incredibly powerful.
Truly formative. Hitchhiking, flying space available, literally walking on old battlegrounds in the Marianas.
Finding C-ration tins, rocket rounds, and that helmet.
reaching for a Marine helmet in a cave and it just disintegrates into dust. Imagine that visceral connection to the past. It fueled everything he did afterward for veterans.
He switched parties, became a Republican after Carter's draft pardons.
Yeah, he saw the pardons as a betrayal, the twisting of the knife for those who served. That pushed him politically.
And as Secretary of the Navy, he made a point of getting medals for his old guys.
He did. Shook loose. Long overdue awards like Silver Stars, Bronze Stars, cutting through red tape for men like Dale Wilson and Mac McDowell, correcting old wrongs.
He was really outspoken against getting involved in the Persian Gulf, too.
Very outspoken. That line, you don't use force, you send people, meaning young lives. That really captures his perspective.
And he resigned on principle over budget cuts, retiring frigates.
Yep. Said it was his duty. If you can't support the policy, you leave. That unwavering principle again.
His relationship with North stayed complicated, though.
Very. He wouldn't talk about their rivalry publicly, but privately, he was bothered by what he saw as North's inflated biography claims about commanding a company, unconventional warfare. Things Webb knew weren't quite accurate.
And that image of Webb advising Poindexter on pleading the Fifth, the screw-off advising the model midshipman.
A real Alice in Wonderland moment, as the source puts it. The roles completely reversed.
Culminating in that scene in 1994, Webb and other vets denouncing North at the Iwo Jima Memorial.
A powerful, dramatic moment, accusing North of habitual lying and sullying his oath of office during North's Senate run. The final public break over duty and honor.
So wrapping this all up, what do we take away from these 5 intertwined lives?
Well, you see these individuals, all forged in Annapolis, all deeply marked by Vietnam.
Ascending to the absolute highest levels of power.
Right, but carrying such different lessons, such different burdens from their shared experiences. Poindexter's faith in systems, McCain's rebellious integrity, Webb's principled defiance.
McFarland's struggle with the weight of leadership and truth.
And North's unwavering, sometimes controversial, focus on the mission.
Their stories just show that complex dance between personal conviction, loyalty to the institution, and the brutal demands of public life.
Yeah, that clash between duty, honor, country, and, political reality, media spin, personal flaws.
Yeah.
It's all there.
It's striking that even men with this much talent, discipline, commitment, they still got tangled in controversy, faced huge questions about honesty, loyalty, accountability.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does, which kind of leads us with a final thought for everyone listening. If these incredibly capable, often principled individuals wrestled so profoundly with the challenges of leadership.
What does that tell us about the inherent difficulties, the built-in traps maybe, of leading in a messy democracy like ours?
And how can we, just as citizens, get better at understanding and assessing the people who step up and ask to lead?